What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Charging Station podcast. It's your girl, Tracy Massey of Living My Empowered Life. Hunty, I need you to go ahead and grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your water, grab your wine, whatever your beverage of choice is. Sis, grab that thing and have a seat on the couchy couch because I got a story to tell. And before we get into it, you know what I need you to do? I need you to go ahead and follow this podcast, subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on. I need you to rate, review. You can even leave me a text message now. So if you're listening, click the link in the description. Let me know what you think of this episode. Let me know what you think of this podcast. And be sure to share this out with your peeps because the more you share, the more people are aware, the more we can get this podcast out. And I just greatly appreciate you rocking with me for the last 7 years. Can y'all believe it? It's been 7 years since the birth of the Charging Station podcast. Actually, we're rolling up on year number 8 come August 17th. So let's get into it. Oh, wait. I want to welcome all of our new listeners. Hey, y'all. Hey. Thank you for rolling with us on this episode. I hope you stay for more. I kind of feel like you're going to stay for more, especially after this episode, because you're going to want to know what happens next. So I just kind of gave it away. But yeah, I'm starting a new series. I've never done a series before, but this is a series of events. So it just kind of feels right to do this. So welcome if you're new around here. If you are a returning listener, hey boo, you know I love me some you. Thank you for coming back week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, whatever it is. I appreciate you. So all right. I'm not going to hold you, but I have a story to tell. And if you've been following me on the socials, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, Living My Empowered Life. You can find me on YouTube as well, Living My Empowered Life. I'm trying to do better about getting video content up, y'all. Y'all know I have a love-hate relationship with social media. We ain't going to talk about that. So if you've been following me on the socials, then you kind of know what's been happening in my real life in real time. So, well, kind of in real time. I haven't shared everything. I had to save some for the podcast, right? So I'm going to be sharing this story, all right? So let me take you back. I got to take you back in order to get you to where I am right now in this process. So probably about 7 years ago, there's that number 7 again. If you don't know, biblically, 7 is the number of completion. And 8, which is one of my favorite numbers, is the number of new beginnings. So put a pin right there. Just kind of remember that. But about 7 years ago, Mother's Day weekend, I was having a moment. I was really missing my daughter. I was really missing my mom. And I was just like, I wasn't in a bad place, but it wasn't a good place either. So I needed to get out of the house. So I called one of my girlfriends up and I was like, hey, I just need to get out of the house. Do you mind hanging out for a little bit? She was like, yeah, sure. We can hit up one of my favorite spots in my hometown and, just eat and kiki and everything. So I went home to South Carolina and I said, I really want to kind of visit my mom's grave. I haven't been to my mom's grave in I don't know how long. It's been so long, y'all, that I didn't remember where she was buried. Like I didn't remember her actual resting place. I knew where the cemetery was. I knew it was a family plot, but I just didn't remember where she was particularly laid to rest. So my friend, God bless her, was going with me through this entire cemetery. Granted, the cemetery is small, but when you're looking in, the cemetery is hundreds of years old, back to early 1800s. So it's small, but it's big. So we're going around looking at all these graves. I was like, okay, I know it's not on this particular side, but it's over here somewhere. So let's just start looking. So she's looking, I'm looking. And then I run up on like my great grandmother's grave. And I'm like, oh, okay. So this must be the family plot. So we go looking and then we come upon my mom's grave. But in the midst of all that, I'm like looking at all of my ancestors buried here. And I finally get to my mom's grave and I'm standing there and I get so angry because it all of a sudden it hit me that there's tons of history, stories, secrets buried in these graves. And I'm standing there like angry, crying. And my poor friend, my girlfriend, didn't know what to do. She was just like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just having a moment. I'm just having a moment." And then I finally said, what I just said, there are so many things buried right here. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go. Let's just go. So I gathered myself, and my friend gave me a hug, which is funny because she's not a hugger. So I must have been down bad because she's not a hugger. But she gave me a hug, and she was like, "T, it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right." And so we leave, and we're sitting at the restaurant having lunch. And she was like, "Well, T, you had a really, you might want to think about why you had that kind of reaction." And I said, I know. I need to unpack something there because clearly it's something that is pulling me, and I need to figure out what it is and what to do with it." So fast forward, I go journal. I get back home, I go journal about it, and I start to pray. And God says to me, "Do you remember when I told you that you would be..." No, let me get it right. He said, "Do you remember when I told you that you're the curse breaker? You're the generational curse breaker in your family?" And I was like, "Yes, Lord, I remember." "And do you remember how excited you got about that?" And I was like, "Yeah, yes, Lord, I remember." And I said, "I also remember asking you that since I'm the curse breaker, to please allow me to partake in the blessings that come when the curse is broken. Because, Lord, I don't know about y'all. Yeah, being a curse breaker is great. Yes, awesome thing. But I don't want to be the curse breaker and then die after the curse has been broken. I don't want to be the curse breaker and then not be able to partake in the blessings. Like, I don't want to be like Moses. Moses was promised the promised land. He saw the promised land, but was never allowed to walk into the promised land. I want to be able to walk into that promised land. I want to be able to walk into that land of milk and honey. There's no way I am satisfied with knowing that I'm the curse breaker, but I don't get to see it. No. And before y'all come at me, before you Bible scholars and stuff and all this stuff come at me, listen, I am a firm believer in having conversations with the Lord. And the Bible doesn't tell us to pray earnestly. And the Bible doesn't say, ask and you shall receive. We have not because we ask not. Like, I'm going to ask the Lord for stuff, okay? I'm going to ask him. It's not just material things, but spiritual things, like all the things that he's promised me. I'm asking him for that because he promised. And granted, there are some promises that are conditional. So if we're going to have this covenant, I need to know what's the part of the contract. What's the part that I have to be doing, okay? So back to this prayer, this whole conversation with God. And he says, "Yes, I know that you said that." He said, "But here's the thing. In order to break curses, they have to be revealed to you. You have to know what you're fighting against. You have to know what you're standing, what kind of foundation you're standing on, what kind of curse is standing before you, what kind of all of this stuff." So God is just like breaking it down to me what being a curse breaker actually means. Long story short, it means some warfare. You can't fight an enemy without a plan. You can't fight an enemy without a strategy. So at that moment, God started showing me the strategy behind it. Now, that's when I got scared. I ain't even gonna lie. I was like, oh, the excitement left. It exited stage right real quick. Because I realized in that moment that I'm fighting generations, things that were buried. Ooh, thank you, Holy Spirit. What I just heard Holy Spirit say was the things that were buried were seeds that were planted. So what happens when seeds are planted? They grow roots. They grow trees. They grow branches. So hold on, let me just sit in that for a second. Okay. So I get all this information from the Lord and I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what to do with this. And that's when he went silent. So I took it at that moment just to kind of sit in what he said, not necessarily make a move right now, but just keep in the back of my mind that, this is what this means, and just kind of, stay prayed up. That sounds so churchy, but remain in prayer, remain in his word, remain in worship. And in my experience with God, whenever he goes silent, I've learned that I don't make sudden moves without being instructed, because I could actually like completely mess things up. So being that he didn't say anything else, I was just like, okay, I know to just keep this in the back of my mind, just kind of keep this in my pocket and keep doing what I've been doing until he says otherwise. So fast forward 7 years. I was on a live stream on Tea Time Tuesday. It may have been a Tea Time Tuesday. It may have just been a check-in with me. I don't know, but it was a live stream. And if you haven't caught one of my live streams, y'all, we have a really good time. It's like being here on the podcast, but you get to talk back to me, which I love. So we were on this live, and I don't know how we got on the subject, but I had mentioned doing a DNA test. And the main reason I wanted to do a DNA test was because, one, I would have people ask me many a times if I was Asian. And I swear, I think it's just because of my eyes. But honestly, when I was over in Thailand, I got asked once. Once is enough for me, but I got asked if I have Asian family. So curiosity has always been in me. And also not knowing who my dad is, not knowing that part of me, there's always been a curiosity. But I mainly wanted to do a DNA test just to see what my genetic makeup was. Like, where did I come from? Like, who am I? You know, what's in me? Like, what countries did my ancestors come from? And so I was talking about doing the DNA test. And I was like, you know what if I find out I'm related to somebody really famous? So what if I find out that I'm actually royalty over in Africa? Because I knew that I had some African heritage. I just didn't know what country I was descended from in Africa. I mean, I'm black. Okay, I'm black. That's a given. We didn't come to the United States voluntarily. Okay, so I was talking about this online, and then everybody on the live started saying, if you do it, I'll do it. If you do it, I'll do it. Like, we did it. So I went and was like researching the kit online. And I said, all right, y'all, I'm gonna do it. I said, I should. This was in like January, 8 February, somewhere around in there. Forgive me if the dates are wrong. I'm still processing 2020, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I have to keep reminding myself it's 2024. But I started searching the kit online, and I was like, okay, well, the kit is this price, blah, 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 blah. And I said, you know what? If I do this now, I could probably have the results by my birthday. That would be like a great birthday present for me. Got off the live, had the kit up, and I said, you know what? I can't do it. I'm just gonna wait. All right. So fast forward to March. I'm at the beach celebrating my birthday. And the day before my birthday, I just got up and I said, you know what? I'm gonna order this kit. So I got online, I ordered the kit, and did not realize that this particular this particular agency that I used immediately gives you access to create a family tree. So I'm blown by this. I start to create the family tree based off of my maternal lineage. So I know my mom, of course. I know my mother. I know my grandmother. I know my grandfather. I knew of my great grandmother, Gabriella. And that's all I knew. Like, I know my mom's brothers and sisters, some of my cousins, descendants from there. So I started to input that information. Y'all, I did not realize how emotional this was going to make me, because I started to see pictures of my grandmother come up, my grandma Carrie. I started to see my grandfather. I found my grandfather's death certificate and realized in that moment that I had lived longer than my grandfather. Like, I turned 48. My grandfather died at 43. Granted, it was a different time period. The medical advances that we have now did not exist back then. But my grandfather died in such a simple way, if there's such a thing as simple death. But you get what I'm saying. He had gotten injured at work. He broke his leg and had a blood clot. the thought of what my grandmother went through, what my mom actually experienced. My mother, I found out because of a census um, document that I found. My mother was like 3 when she lost her dad. My mother was the youngest child of how many brothers and sisters? I don't even want to say because I may get it wrong, but she had a lot. She had a lot of brothers and sisters. So I'm just thinking about that time period, my grandmother being a young widow with all these babies. And it made me so emotional. I'm like, oh my God, this is so sad. And I didn't realize what heaviness would bring, finding out all of this information, because this is stuff that I don't remember my mom ever telling me, or even aunties and uncles telling me things like this. And granted, my family situation is a little different. It may be similar to some of y'all, but my mother moved from South Carolina to Washington, D.C. So that's where I was born. That's where I grew up. I didn't get to necessarily grow up with my cousins. We moved back to South Carolina when I was 12. So that's when I picked up with some of my cousins, and, the relationships formed from there. But I didn't get to have the same kind of experience as most people had. So back to the story. I find all of this information. I start to find marriage certificates. I find census documents. I find deeds, titles, things like that. And I'm just like, yo, I'm literally watching my family history be put together. And as the tears are streaming down my face, I hear the Lord say, now we can begin. I'm like, what? Huh? Begin what? Because mind you, I had forgotten what the Lord had said. I remember him saying that I will be the curse breaker, generational curse breaker. But all the other stuff, I didn't remember. It didn't come back to the forefront of my mind until I heard Holy Spirit say, now we can begin. And I thought, oh, here we go. But let me pause right there. I really just want to thank God for being as smart as he is. He's so much smarter than I will ever be. Because in his infinite wisdom and his perfect timing, he knew exactly when I will be able to handle all of the information that's coming to me. Because if I think about it, if I had tried to do this 7 years ago, I would not have been ready. I would not have had the mental capacity or the emotional intelligence to be able to handle all of the information that was being thrown at me. Even though some of it was good, I knew that some of it would not be good. So I hear the Lord say, now it can begin. And y'all, I just kind of I stopped for a minute and I took a deep breath and I just said, okay. So I put all of that down. Well, actually I didn't, because let me tell you something. If you're thinking about doing a DNA test, and I'm going to expound on this in future episodes, but if you're thinking about doing a DNA test, I just want you to be prepared for the unexpected. Just prepare yourself for the unexpected. You will definitely find some things out that you did not know, and some things you may not want to know. So just prepare yourself for the unexpected. Again, I will expound on that in future episodes. So stay tuned. So I got sucked in because I love to research. I love history and things like that, especially now that it's history about my family. I'm like, okay, listen, I need to know, what's the tea? So I find myself digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm like, you know what? I need to take a break from this. I just need to wait. Hold off. Let me go enjoy the rest of this trip. Let me enjoy my birthday. And so I go and do that. So about a week later, about a couple days later, I get the notification that the kit has shipped. And so I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, I'm excited. Oh my God, oh my God. So I'm like, all right, the kit has shipped. So what does this mean? It means that it's really happening. So I'm excited. I'm excited and scared at the same time. So I get the kit, the notification the kit has shipped, and then I got to wait a little bit more. So probably about 3 or 4 days later, the kit comes. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's actually in my hands. So what am I going to do? Like, I got it. I spent my money. Let me go ahead and do the sample and send it on. So I do the sample and I take the kit to work with me the next day because there's a post office close to work. It's actually within walking distance from my office. And so I'm there and I tell my coworker, my teammate who's become a really good friend of mine, I tell her, I was like, hey, I did this thing. I have the kit in my hands, in my bag. Do you mind walking with me to the post office to make sure that I put this thing in the mail? She's like, sure, let's go right now. I'm like, wait. Like, wait, hold on. I'm not ready. She's like, no, let's go right now. She said, I can tell you're nervous about it. So the best way to combat those nerves is to go ahead and do it. I was like, dag it, you're right. All right. Okay, let's go. So I grab the kit. We head out to the post office. And the closer I get to the post office, I start to shake. I don't know why I'm having this strong emotion. And I start to shake. I'm so glad she was with me because I probably would have turned around and gone back if she wasn't with me. So she was like coaching me through the whole thing. It's okay. It's going to be all right. Whatever you find, it's going to be good. God is going to be with you. Like, she was just really, really encouraging me. We get to the post office. And there are the mail slots to put the kit in to mail off. And I'm standing there and I freeze. And I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm like holding there and I say, hey, can you just put this in there for me? She was like, no. She said, no. She said, this is your journey. You're going to see this all the way through. See, this is why you have to have people in your life like this, because when you are not strong enough or you feel like you can't do something, baby, you got to have an army behind you that will help you fight the battle. Like, in this moment, I was Moses and she was Aaron holding up my arms, okay? She said, no. She said, you're going to do it. You're going to see this journey all the way through. And at that moment, I felt like, okay, God, I hear you. I felt like Holy Spirit was speaking through her. And she said, we're going to pray. She said, do you mind if I pray for you right now? I was like, no, absolutely, please. And so she says the most beautiful prayer. And she steps out of the way so the path is clear for me to get to the drop-off boxes, the mail drop. I open up the mail drop. I kind of stand there and I'm holding it so it doesn't drop. And I look back at her. She said, you can do it. I'm laughing at myself now, but I was so scared, y'all. I let the lever go and hear the box drop. And she says, you did it. Yeah, you did it. And I said, oh, there's no turning back now, is it? She said, nope, let's get back to the office. So we go back to the office. And after I sat down at my desk and began to work, I felt a relief. I felt released from whatever was holding me from dropping that sample off. And so the next day I get the notification that the kit is starting to move through the mail process. And then I also get a notification that if I want to expedite the processing of my sample, then I can pay an extra $20 to get moved to the front of the line. You know what I did, right? I paid that $20 so fast. So that meant instead of waiting 6 to 8 weeks for my results would come in 2 to 4 weeks. So I paid the $20. I closed the app. I'm not looking at this anymore because I'm on pins and needles now. It's like, let me go figure something else out. Let me go do something else. And I try not to think about the results, but I can't. I'm checking like every day, every other day, like in tracking this package going through the postal system. And here in the U.S., y'all know how the USPS has been doing lately. So I was nervous. I was really nervous because I'm watching the package moving pretty steadily. Then all of a sudden it stops. And I'm like, oh, what's happening? Oh, did they lose my sample? Oh, I'm gonna have to do this again. All the things are running through my mind. It stops for like 2 days, 3 days. I'm like, okay, what's happening? But then I remember sometimes the post office will be tracking, the package will be moving through. And then sometimes somebody just will stop tracking it for you and then it'll show up at its destination. By the end of the week, I got a notification that my kit had been received and it is being put at the front of the line. Oh, it's happening. It's happening. And so I gather myself again and I sit down and I say, all right, God, whatever you have for me, give me the wisdom to use the information that you show me wisely. Give me the faith to believe that continue to believe that you are with me every step of the way in this process and beyond. And God, whatever happens, I thank you for this moment because I know that this is the beginning of breaking these curses. All right, peeps, that's it. I'm gonna leave you right there because I got to give you bits and pieces because again, this is my life. This is something that I'm living in real time. And so as I replay it for you, retell it for you, I'm having to process all these emotions again. So bear with me. Come back next week to hear the second part of this series that I'm calling Branches. Okay. So that's it for right now, y'all. I'm going to head out and just prepare to tell the second part of the story. But I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave me a little note. Let me know how you like this episode. And if you're even interested in doing what I'm doing, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. You can always email me at hello@livingmyempoweredlife.com. If you email about this particular episode, or if you're on my email list and you got the email about this episode, reply to that email. But if you email me about this subject, just kind of put in there DNA or branches. Just say branches, okay? So I'm going to head out. And before I go, I want to remind you of this one thing. Remember, God loves you. I love you. It ain't nothing you can do about it, boo. Boop. See you next week.